It's October, and of course, that means it is marching band season. Today, we're talking about marching band, specifically Bands of America and the events they offer. We're talking with a Pennsylvania director as well that is heading to Bands of America Grand Nationals. It's all in today's PMEA's Take Note podcast, presented by the Slippery Rock University Music Department. Hey, hello everyone. Today on Take Note, we are talking marching band. Of course, it is October, and that means we are all in the full swing of marching band season. And marching band on the national stage really happens with Bands of America. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking later with the director of a Pennsylvania band heading there. But before we do that, we're going to take some time to talk a little about BOA and what's happening this season with a guy who sometimes is known as the beast of the marching arts, but we'll just call him Tim. Tim Hinton from Marching Arts Education joins us today. Tim, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to get to talk with you.
So let's start with let's go with a quick background first. Talk to us a little bit about how you got to where you are in the marching world. I know you have a music ed degree. You taught for a while. Kind of what's your background in the marching world?
Sure. No, it's been a wonderful career. I've spent my whole career and my whole life in the world of the marching arts, marching band, drum corps. It's been wonderful. I marched drum corps with the Phantom Regiment back when I was in college, and then I was a high school band director for 10 years. Sort of burned out and went into being a full-time designer for I don't even want to count how many years, 30 plus years. I've been arranging shows, writing drills in the summer, helping design shows, do that whole concept. So I've been in the world of education, in the world of marching this whole time. About 10 years ago, some friends and I were all sitting around grousing about, well, nobody's talking about this and the shows, we don't like this. And so we decided, well, let's do something to try to help. So we created the Marching Roundtable podcast, which is now been going for, like I said, 11 years now. There's over 1,000 podcast episodes anybody can find at marchingroundtable.com. And then 4 years ago, we started the video version of that, where we have live webinars, video interviews and things. That's Marching Arts Education. So all of it is housed on the Marching Arts Education site. So my thing is, I just love to help people do better, learn the things they need to know. The thing I always say, Mark, is, you watch a show. If you've been around a long time like me, you're sort of an old dog in the activity. You watch a show and I always think, man, if that director and his staff just knew a couple things, if I could just tell them, like it would have been so much better maybe, or maybe the kids would have had a better experience. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people find that, get access to the people that are doing it really, really well, and help them find that information. So hopefully at this point on our website, after all these years, if there's anything you're trying to figure out how to do, how do I get my trumpets to double tongue? Or how do I figure out how to design that flag? Or how do I get my band parents to get involved more? Like, all that information is there, and we're trying to make that available to people.
So I love the how-to piece that you're offering, but I just love that, like, you've kind of created this community of let's talk shop, right? Because I've always said, the music teachers in schools kind of, they don't go down to the faculty room as much and hang out with the rest of the teachers because they're just so busy. But that also, they don't have necessarily folks in the school to talk shop with. So you've kind of created that community, which I think is just an incredible resource in itself.
Thank you.
So let's talk Bands of America. That you talk a lot about Bands of America kind of on the national stage a lot on your podcasts. We missed last year, of course. We missed so many things last year. They did some wonderful virtual performances throughout the year, but we are back live and in person around the country this year. And that's something you're very closely paying attention to every week. So I'm just curious for your take on BOA being back.
Well, of course, everybody's just happy that marching is back in any way. A few places in the country did sort of have marching band last year, but most places did not. And we all really missed it. It's been that, so many people, I've had so many conversations about this, and people keep saying, I'm realizing how much this meant to me. And so many people have told that story of how they got in front of the band, they were actually together, they played that concert F, and everybody was in tears because we realized how much it meant to us. It's been very emotional. And so that's what we're trying to remind everybody is, it doesn't matter this year. I mean, you want your band to do well, you want to be competitive, whatever you're going to do. But the most important thing is let's help those students get back together. Let's get things going again. Let's keep that context. So I think everybody's just thrilled that it's happening, that we're having these experiences. Students are on the field, audiences are clapping for them and rewarding them for all their hard work. And it's just, we all love it. I've spent my life in this activity and trying to help people around it and be involved in it and create shows. And I think the folks at Bands of America, I've had a lot of conversations with people from the very highest levels there all the way down. And just everybody's just happy that we're back and trying to provide a great experience for the students that come to their contests.
And one of the wonderful ways that to provide that experience even a little bit more is an extended audience this year. Not only the folks that are in the stands, but through this partnership with Box 5, you can watch all of these shows on Saturdays, from prelims to finals, everything that's happening. And you're a pretty big part of that. So can you talk to us about Box 5?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to box5tv.com is where you can find that and sign up. And not only on Saturdays, we have some double day super regionals coming up where it's Friday and Saturday. Believe me, like all day Friday, there's a lot of band to watch. And the great thing is the folks at Box 5 with Tim and Robin Snyder, that it's great quality video. It looks wonderful. You can really hear it really well. They do a great job of that because we've all had experiences that are frustrating trying to watch stuff online. But I can tell you they do a great job. And so all of the BOA events, plus a number of other contests happening all over the country, Illinois State Championships, Florida, California, Arizona, there's something in Tennessee this coming weekend, Illinois, all of those events are happening. A lot of those are being broadcast on Box 5 also. So you can buy a season pass and just watch all of it all the time, which is what I would encourage you to do. Or you can just sign up to watch just the prelims for this event or just whatever part of it you want to see. But it's a way where we can't all be in stadiums still back. Some people don't feel comfortable. Some people can't do it where they are. They just don't want to go. I'm the same way. I'm doing a lot of stuff from home this year, but I'm excited I can still watch band and have a really good experience watching it with the Box 5.
And one of the really cool things that you're doing is kind of this recap that happens that comes out every Wednesday. I think it's a fantastic concept that you're doing with Box 5, where you're kind of dissecting what happened over the weekend. You're telling some feature stories, about a half-hour show every week. Tell us a little bit about that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I can tell you that what happened was a couple of years ago, Tim and Robin Snyder from Box 5 came to me and we all sat down. They were here in Orlando where I am. And they were like, we have this idea that we want to make these broadcasts. We want to take it up to another level. Let's create a new paradigm. So we want to have the stories of the bands that are participating. We want to have live events happening where we talk about shows after we watch them. And so we have a lot of pre-recorded segments. We have live segments that are happening. All that's happening on the broadcast. So our idea is to sort of be educational, engaging between bands rather than just sitting there waiting for the next one to come out. I might appear or somebody on our team and, we'll be talking to somebody about it. Part of that that's really fun is we all talk about shows after they're done. If you're at a stadium, you're watching a show and the band marches off, you turn to your friends, you're like, well, what'd you think? Wasn't that crazy? Could you believe that girl in that product? Like, we all talk about it. We love that. As the TX band guys who are part of the team too, they just love to nerd out about band all the time. It's fun. And especially we're feeling it this year now that it's back. So what we're doing we have a special video feature that's coming out every Wednesday called Marching Arts Now. You can find that on the Box 5 or the Marching Roundtable YouTube channel. And it's about a 20-30 minute show where one of the things we do is the TX band guys choose 4 shows that everybody was sort of buzzing about. And we get to highlight them. So I have a guest and all kinds of different guests. Every week it's a different kind of person. And we talk about shows that everybody was talking about that were sort of memorable, sort of cool. One is like a small band, one is a band that was just over the top, so we have some different categories of the different groups. So we're doing that. And it's also we're telling some of the stories of the bands. We've sent out an email to everybody going to a Bands of America concert. We said, what is your story? We have all kinds of things, from a band member performing in a wheelchair in the drill. Like, it's amazing. Like, he is in the drill, marching the drill like any other member. It's quite remarkable. We have a story of a grandpa who's this older gentleman that shows up every rehearsal at a band and is always there sitting in the trunk of his car supporting the band kids. So there's like all kinds of variety of stories of the things we're doing. So that's all part of this too. And then every Wednesday we're putting out a podcast, a special version of the Marching Roundtable podcast called BOA Today, where we're talking about what happened last weekend, what's coming up this weekend? What are some of the stories? And then we do some special interviews. I'll tell you the one this week is band director spouses. That was interesting.
I'm sure.
Because, it's two wives and a husband who have their spouse is a band director, and they talk about like, what's the hardest thing? What did you not expect when when you married this person? It's very interesting conversation. So we're trying to share sort of those interesting stories.
Yeah, and it's funny because those are the things, you're right, when you're sitting in the stadium, people say, hey, did you know this about this band? Did you hear this about this band? So it is telling those wonderful stories. Yeah, I look forward to Wednesdays for sure, to see that all put into one, nice package thing. And the part that I love the most is where you take those 4 shows and you bring in, you had Lindsay Vento come in, and I just love that. What's her first reaction, right? And I think that's insightful, but it's also educational for anyone watching it, from a student to a band parent to a band director. So very cool segment ideas you have going on there.
Thank you. We enjoyed it. And a lot of those things show up during the broadcast as well. So if you're watching one of the Box 5 broadcasts, whatever it is you're watching, my face or somebody else on the marching arts education team will just pop in and we'll be like, here's a little bit of a story that we're talking about. Because, Mark, our activity is full of great stories. That band parent that's been fitting uniforms for 40 years, people give so much, and they do so much to make the activity possible. And I love to tell those stories too.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's fantastic. And you're right. There's that downtime on Saturdays between shows, and if we're at home watching it, I love how you're filling it. So. So this weekend, we have a super regional in Indy. Luckily, I will be in the stadium for that one. I'm looking forward to that. But in just a few weeks, we have Grand Nationals coming up in Indy as well. So that's the big boy, right? That's where everyone is looking forward to going. And if not going this year, certainly watching it live on Box 5. I think I'm going to ask you a pretty tough question here, because I don't know if this can be described, but going to Grand Nationals, is it's kind of undescribable. It's kind of that moment of like, it's hard to understand until you're there. I'm curious for your take on what that experience is on taking a band to Grand Nationals and experiencing everything that happens over those few days.
Well, the thing that might surprise people is that it's all just like a big warm hug. I mean, like everybody supports everybody.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I think is really cool about what Music for All is doing with their Bands of America contest. So we've all been to places where it sort of seemed a little cutthroat, and everybody, and of course we all know that we should all clap for everybody. Like every kid that's out there on the field is working their hardest with whatever show they were given. So we hope that all band parents will clap for all the shows they see, but we can get into some competitive things. But the thing I love about the atmosphere at Grand Nationals, really at all the BOA regionals, but especially at Grand Nationals, is the band that marches out is clapping for the band that's coming on, is everybody's supporting everybody. And it's a really wonderful atmosphere. Of course, if you take your band there, you're getting to sort of show what you can do on this grand national stage. Of course, you get the excitement of just marching in and performing in Lucas Oil Stadium, which is, a really special thing now in our marching activity. It's amazing. I was talking to somebody the other day, like if you come out of the tunnel, if you've ever had the chance to do this, you come out of the tunnel, you sort of march on the field. Somebody said this the other day, it does feel like all the colors are like a little more vivid. Like it's just this amazing experience. And the students have that opportunity to perform for this really appreciative crowd. Of course, they're going to get world-class feedback about what they're doing, and that will help the program move forward. But mostly it's just the experience is so positive. The other thing that I love about what Music for All and Bands of America does is it's just very regimented. I've been having some conversations with the sort of the higher ups in the activity there, and they're talking about how in the organization, how they work things. And they're talking about, like Deb Lafferty the other day was just saying, everybody knows that like it's exactly timed. This is the minute you're going to march out on the field. It's on time. When you're supposed to start, you start. When you're done. But that sort of regimented organization is really like very comforting, because the director and his staff, they know, and the students, they know exactly what to expect. They know exactly if they're on at 2, then at 1:56, they're going to start moving out on the field. 157 and a half, the announcer is going to say this. It's all very carefully planned out, but that lets the director and the students just worry about their part. They know exactly what to expect. So that sort of really well-run, well-organized machine that they have going makes a difference. I mean, when I was a band director, I went to contests where you step out on the parking lot and everything's sort of chaos. You don't know where to go, and what's it going to be like in the stadium, and like all these things. All of that stress is taken away. And so I think that, plus the atmosphere of just how everybody's rooting for everybody, it's a really, really wonderful experience.
And having been to Grand Nationals so many times now and been to DCI championships there, if you've not been out there to Lucas Oil Stadium, it's worth it to participate. First, it's first-class facility, but that was designed with the marching arts in mind. So there are just so many smart things that just make it, like to your point about, Music for All is making your life easier, but the stadium itself lends to making your life easier. Being connected to the convention center and having these indoor warm-up areas, it's a fantastic facility.
Yeah, and you're like, he's telling the truth, everybody. Like, it really was designed thinking about having marching contests there. So we're just so fortunate to have that sort of infrastructure built in. And it's very organized. You know exactly how it's going to go. I think it's a wonderful experience. And I just going there and just watching bands, like, even if you don't have a band there, just going and experiencing this atmosphere is really wonderful. And you're going to see one creative thing after another, one amazing performance after another. You can't. I just feel good about the state of the world. Like, it's just like, you think, you know what, we're going to be okay, because you see these students and they're achieving these great things and they're working so hard, and you can't sit through that for any length of time and not think, you know what, I think the world's going to be in good hands. Because if you're back at home watching the news, you can feel like everything's gloom and doom. But man, you watch these performances and you see what the students have accomplished, and the designers and their team and the staff and the parents. Like, it's inspiring, and it always makes me feel better.
I find myself, when I'm sitting there, on my phone and just saying, well, here was the creative IT I just saw. And I'll leave there with the list. What's wonderful is this year you can do that from home. There's weekends where there's 3 regionals going on, and you can flip between them. We encourage you to get out if you can, but if not, Box 5 is there this year, and especially for Grand Nationals weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, that's the big thing, and it's 3 full days of great coverage. And the thing I love, again, is that sometimes it's frustrating to watch band on video, when you're at home. But I got to tell you, the folks at Box 5 are really smart. They are marching arts people. They're not TV people. They're marching. I mean, they do the TV stuff really well, but they're marching arts people. So they know how to film the things you want to see. When the big thing happens over here with the guard soloist on this set piece, you're going to see it, and then here's the soloist. So I always feel like I'm getting a really good version of being there, even though I'm at home.
All right. Now, thanks to Tim Hinton for talking to us. And let me just remind you of the websites that he referenced, marchingartseducation.com, where there's a bunch of resources, and then box5tv.com, where you can watch BOA for the rest of the year on the weekends, live. Even if there's 3 regionals, you can catch all of them live, and they have some great content. So speaking of going to BOA events, I'm really happy to be joined now by Tim Daniels. He's the director of bands at Norwin High School, located just outside of Pittsburgh in North Huntington. And he's taking his band to a BOA event this year. I would say the biggest one, but we'll talk about that in a second. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So first, before we get into marching band and BOA, I just kind of want to get a sense from you of, as we go back into this maybe somewhat normal year, or certainly more normal than last year, what's the school year been like for you?
Yeah, so the school year, for better or for worse, has been relatively normal. The mask mandates that everybody's dealing with. we've been dealing with the same stuff. And, we've had, maybe a few more kids not at rehearsals that are, quarantined and stuff like that. But, we started with a normal summer schedule, rehearsals started with a normal band camp schedule. And, more or less the school year has felt normal. We've been at football games, the rehearsals are back, the performance opportunities are back that, we haven't had in past years. So for the most part, the school year has been, pretty much back to normal, certainly relative to, what we were dealing with in past years. So, so far it's been pretty smooth sailing, all things considered.
I love how many times you say normal, because I think we've all been in such an abnormal world that's wonderful to hear. But one of the kind of abnormal things you're doing this year is, we're talking about Bands of America, and we were just talking to Tim Hinton about that experience and going to Grand Nationals, is you are going to Grand Nationals. Some call it the National Championships, but it's the big culminating event for the Bands of America season. So let me just get the big question out of the way first. Why go to Grand Nationals in a year that is so uncertain?
So I think the easiest answer is I think we're just a little bit crazy.
Okay.
But so, I think that, when we were, we had a lot of this type of conversation, like, should we or shouldn't we, or, how do we want to approach this season? And, to give you some background, we had planned back in 2019 to attend the Super Regional in 2020, the Indianapolis Super Regional in 2020. And then obviously 2020 really didn't happen. There weren't Bands of America events going on. So, that kind of got pushed off the table. And we started to look at, well, what are we going to do in 2021, having these conversations in this, last spring. And, part of it was, one of the things that we felt was, that this season was going to be in some ways a little bit of a reboot for us. But in some ways, we were able to field a show last fall. We did some of the Bands of America virtual opportunities. We also did some virtual opportunities with US bands, and really put, a pretty complete show on the field last year. So from that respect, we felt like, we had the training in place. We had what we needed to continue to kind of hit the ground running this year and be successful. And the other part of that was, the kids, everywhere, including on our program, have been through a lot over the last year and a half. And we felt it was important that, we did something that was, special to get them, back into marching band, to get them excited about, band again and marching band again, and the opportunity to travel. And as, we kind of expose at this point, half the kids in this program that have never been to a Bands of America event, giving them the perspective of going and not only performing in Grand Nationals, but also seeing, the best marching ensembles in the country, to hopefully, as we, kind of rebuild and continue out of the pandemic here, to give them something to strive for, and to recognize and hopefully get them in the mindset for the growth that we hope to experience in the years ahead.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on such an important point that some directors might not think of. One of the huge values of going to somewhere like Grand Nationals is the opportunity for any band. I don't care if you go in and you're going to be a top 10 band at the at the event, but that you go and you watch these other bands, because it doesn't matter the size of the band. I guarantee you're going to see something you haven't seen, and there's the amount of creativity, and that's just going to open up students' eyes. So I think that's a wonderful reason to go.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about preparing. Is this different? Is this year different for you in any way, mindset wise? Then, take the pandemic piece out of it, but then another year, because you are doing the Grand Nationals piece and extending the season there by a couple weeks.
Yeah. So, for all of the students, of course, this is a longer season than any of them are used to. It's 3 weeks, 4 weeks longer than what we normally, would do. So, we took into account that when we were scheduling. We scheduled a few more off weekends throughout the season to try to, balance the commitment, especially again, when last year there was much less going on, kind of, ease the kids back into it as much as we could. From a design standpoint and a rehearsal standpoint, certainly we have the same expectations of our kids, whether it was last year during the pandemic or whether we're going to Grand Nationals. So I think from, the expectations we have of us and the ensemble and, what we ask of the kids hasn't really changed. But, as we kind of get through, we have our local championships this weekend coming up. And then we have 3 weeks to really dig in, clean, and get ready for Grand Nationals. And, I think at that point is where we'll really start talking to the kids about, what really is Grand Nationals. And we've kind of talked about it as we've gone through the season, because some kids are students of the activity and really follow Bands of America, and some have no idea what they're about to walk into, which is exciting and a little bit scary. But we try to focus on what we're doing internally and getting better every week. And as we get close to each of these events, we start to talk about it more. And as we get past our local championships, we'll really start to dig in and start to prepare the kids and hopefully give them a little bit of perspective as to, what this is going to be like and how, awesome and unique this experience is that they're going to have in a few weeks.
Yeah, interesting point. I hadn't really thought about that, because you're going to have that big gap of time there where you don't have to worry about this Saturday night show. So you can really be, maybe take some time to pick some things apart that, you don't normally have at the end of a season, because even going into local PMEA championships, you likely would have had a show the Saturday before or even 2 weeks before. So really interesting point there. So I'm curious then for the pitch. We don't have a lot of Pennsylvania bands going out to Grand Nationals. And we do have some that compete in regionals. I know what you were down in Maryland, and there were a few Pennsylvania bands there, 3 or 4, I believe. And so we do have some pockets of it. But I'm just curious for your take as a director on why go to a BOA event, maybe a regional, maybe Grand National, but why take the time to go and experience that? Because there's usually a drive involved.
There is a drive involved, and certainly, it's the cost of buses and food and transportation and trucks and everything else that it takes to go to one of those shows. But I kind of touched on it in the first question. For me, I think that going to any type of a Bands of America event is about growth for the program. When we are, and there are some great bands in our local area, and certainly great bands across Pennsylvania. But, even at a regional, now you're looking at great bands from 5, 6, 7 other states, and in Grand Nationals, I don't know, 16, 17 states represented from all over the country. And I think that, it's really about giving the kids an opportunity, not only to, get some perspective on what else is out there, whether you're gonna, you're going and you're hoping to make finals, or you're going for the first time just to expose students to what else is there. For me, I think that's the biggest driver. And, the competition aspect of it is certainly, for me, it's engaging, and I think the kids enjoy that aspect of it. But for them, watching them interact with students from other programs and other bands, and just sort of enjoy the camaraderie that comes from attending one of those shows. And, the kids don't care whether they're in, 1st, 5th, 10th, whatever. For them, it's about, being able to see kids from other places that are doing the same kind of thing, striving to be excellent. And like we've already talked about, getting to see other groups that are, performing at really, really high levels, whether it's at a regional or Grand Nationals. And to me, that's the really cool thing about, these types of events, despite the travel and despite the, everything that it takes to get a group of kids there, it's 100% worth it for what the kids get out of it, for sure.
And so I'll remind folks, box5tv.com is your way to watch these Saturday shows and all of Grand Nationals. So Grand Nationals is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So prelims are Thursday and Friday. Do you know your day and time?
I do know our day and time. We are on, again, it's all preliminary right now, but we are currently scheduled for Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Okay, that's a good time slot.
It is a good time slot.
Yes.
We were lucky in the draw there.
Yeah, so I'll remind folks to take a look at it. I know I will be glued to my computer Thursday and Friday of that week, prelims to see what's out there, because it is incredible. So Tim, thanks for taking some time to chat with us. I wish you the best of luck at PMEA Championships this weekend, and then of course the best of luck in your 3-week run up to Grand Nationals. Of course, best of luck at Grand Nationals.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to see you. And thank you all for joining us on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast, presented by the Slippery Rock University Music Department. We will see you next time.